Well over a year ago, I purchased a small lot or parcel of preformed aquamarine from Nigeria. The advantage to buying preformed rough is that there is less waste in the cutting process because the rough has already been kind of shaped into the final gem design. The disadvantage to buying preformed rough is that you always have to ask yourself, why is this being offered for sale? Why did an experienced cutter preform the rough, losing a lot of rough in the process? And the answer is sometimes there's inclusions in the rough, which during the preforming stage, the cutter realized he'll not be able to cut out that inclusion and it's going to end up in the final stone, so he passes it off. So anyway, whenever you see preformed rough for sale, always take a look, because you may find a good deal, but always be on guard as to why it's being offered. Now for a pear-shaped gem fasting diagram, I'm going to go with a cool design called Compear, created by Robert Strickland. I found this design and Robert's cutting instructions on the Facet Diagrams website, and here's where you can find that website. And here are the cutting instructions. Robert first published this design in the Fasteners Guild newsletter of January through April of 1996. Apparently it's on page 32. I haven't seen that newsletter, but if anybody has information on it, please let us know in the comments. And Robert selflessly made this design available for any cutter to try. For our pear-shaped small aquamarine, what I've done is put the stone in kind of the pointy bottom part, the cullet, let it stick into the putty, and the top flat part I used a larger dop. This is not the dop I'm going to glue it to, but a larger dop just to help me kind of use the size of the dop to put the stone to the dop. Now for this pear, the center is not the center of the stone. You look at the half circle, the back part of the pear shape, and that half circle is where the center is. If it were perfectly round, that half, then the other half, that's where the center would be. But instead, there's a half circle and then an elongated front part. So this is where we need the dop to be centered, is on the back third. So using a larger dop helps me find that mark. And now the bottom part's gonna stay because it's in the putty, and I just simply remove the upper dop and I'll put in a much smaller dop, which is already centered now because the larger dop helped us center it. So then I'll super glue the smaller dop in place. Okay, I've replaced the 6mm upper dop that I used to center the stone with a much smaller 2mm dop, and it's already centered because that was the purpose of our 6mm dop. So now I'm going to use my UV activated super hold super glue by Helios, and the reason is I like this super glue because it allows me time. If I need to adjust the stone or the super glue, I have time to do that. So and now when I hit it with the light, it says it takes about 3 seconds for it to set. So far I have not had any problem with this super glue. I have not had any stones fall off the dop yet. And that should be more than enough time to have cured the super glue. So let me touch it with my stick before I touch it with my finger. Okay. Yep. It's already set and ready to start cutting the aquamarine pear. Okay, for our Compear preform, we want to set it up in the spindle so that the 96 index tooth comes to the bottom part, but not, the facet is not at the very end. So if you look at the diagram, the facet we're talking about is the G1 girdle facet, and it's slightly, there's one on each side of the center line, if you would have a center line. So you want to put the stone in the index, the 96 index, slightly off, just slightly off to this side, not perpendicular. So we put it in. Again, it's just been preformed, so if we're close enough, it's just fine. So that's the stone is now in the dot. We tighten the set screw and ready to start cutting our Compear. Okay, since our stone was already preformed, all I had to do was go over it with my 600 grit lap, and now I'll go over it with my 12M, which is about a 1500 grit lap. And I believe, since it's barrel Aquamarine, I believe I'll go straight to polish after that, but we'll see. Well, that was weird. Aquamarine should polish right up with cerium oxide and my creamway lap, but it didn't. And I tried a number of laps and a number of oxides and diamond to see what would work with this particular gemstone. And what worked was my tin lap, and I used the aluminum oxide bat stick from Gearloose with a slow drip of water. So now I suspect this rough is not Aquamarine because it polishes the way Topaz I would expect to polish. So I'm glad I have a number of different laps at my disposal. I know most people don't need all kinds of laps, you only need a few, but I'm kind of a lapaholic, and having the right lap here helped me figure this one out and get this stone polished. All right, I finished preforming our Compear with a 13,000 grit diamond on a bat lap. So now I will polish it, and I guess it's going to polish with aluminum oxide like the Pavilion did. So we'll give aluminum oxide a try. Hey, I've been using aluminum oxide in a spray bottle and spraying it onto my lap. But I also have the bat sticks from Gearloose. This is my aluminum oxide bat stick. It's pretty well used. It starts out quite a bit bigger. And I'm going to use my bat stick. And this is what a bat stick, newer bat stick looks like. That's tin oxide, and this is my aluminum oxide. So I've used quite a bit of it. So the way I apply it is with water. It's water soluble. And I'm using a tin lap in this case. So I just get water on the tin lap. Then just take the bat stick, and I just reduce the water because I don't want to be using, I don't want too big of a drip because it's just going to push the slurry out. Run the bat stick over it. And I run it at a low temperature, low speed, and I just put the stone in contact with it. So okay. Then I just take a piece of paper towel, wipe off the facet that I've just worked on, and I use my loop and take a look. And the facet's polished up already. So I'll go continue to polish these facets, and I'll work on that first row. Okay, I finished polishing the upper half of our stone, which is not Aquamarine. not polishing the way Aquamarine would. And I'll put it on my refractometer after I get it done, but I'm suspecting it's Topaz because of the color. So I think someone substituted a piece of Topaz rough. They preformed it and kind of roughed it up so that you couldn't tell the cleavage plane or any other telltale signs that it was Topaz. And they put it in with some Aquamarine and got a much better price for Topaz rough, which is a lot cheaper than Aquamarine rough. But I'll verify that with the refractometer after I'm done. So now I'll take our stone out and set it up to cut the table, and then we'll be done. Okay, I polished the table on our gemstone, so now I will soak it in the acetone to get it removed from the dop, and then we'll weigh it, measure it, and take it to the refractometer, figure out what it is, suspecting Topaz, and we'll send it off to BOPIE. In this video, I cut a piece of rough out of a parcel of preformed aquamarines, or what was advertised as aquamarine. I've always been leery of buying preformed rough simply because I always wonder why that rough is being sold after all the effort to preform it. And the only exception would be, of course, ametrine rough, which is normally trimmed kind of preformed to get a good separation of the purple amethyst and the yellow orange citrine, but that's the exception. Any other time you see a preform, be on guard. And in this case, my suspicions proved right, as some dishonest rough seller used the preforms as a way to put a piece of Topaz into the aquamarine lot. I bought the parcel from a very reputable rough dealer, and I know that he was also duped by someone further up the chain of rough. So anyway, moving forward, the Topaz gemstone looks great, and I was able to cut it into a calibrated size. That'll make it easier for BOPIE to find a mounting for this gem. Robert's design is fairly easy to cut, but it is a pear shape, so this should not be anyone's first gemstone they try to cut. For a brand new cutter, my recommendation is to cut a standard round brilliant first, and then a step cut, either square or rectangle, and then move on to some of the other shapes which are more difficult. Let me know what you think of this gemstone and the design, and I didn't show you working through the refractometer, but if you want to see how a refractometer works, there's a couple of videos, a GIA video on refractometers will show you how to work that. Great tool to have, helps you identify what your gemstone is. So as always, happy fastening, everyone.